Listen now, we the talk around town. Alex threw the ball to Smokey for a touchdown. It's fourth down and you don't really want no more. We've been winning from the door. You should check the scoreboard. Check the scoreboard.
Welcome back to another episode of The Scoreboard. Today we have some fantasy news, weekly fantasy updates for you because it's peak draft season. I've already had a draft and there's another one coming up, of course, so I'm sure you have had plenty of drafts and you're right within it. So Smokey, first of all, how are you doing?
Oh man, I'm good. Better than Earl Thomas right now.
There we go. Yeah, I thought that was going to be the one this week. Made a lot of sense. I kind of expected that. We can get into that story real quick, but in case you didn't know, Earl Thomas got pretty unceremoniously tossed out of Ravens training camp after a scuffle with a teammate who yelled at him for constantly blowing routes and coverages. So I don't know where he's going to end up landing, or if he's going to end up landing anywhere, frankly. I would not want to have him in my team.
Yeah, I wouldn't either, man. Like, at this point, who really needs that headache on their team? I know there's teams that'll probably take him, like Oakland or maybe even the Browns.
Cleveland. Yeah, the Browns. Cowboys come to mind. Raiders, like you mentioned.
Yeah, or I guess there's always the Patriots.
Yeah, that could be true. Though I'd be surprised if the Patriots did it. Yeah. Now you have to replace Patrick Chung, obviously, so it seems to make sense. Mm-hmm. But they had that experience with Antonio Brown, and it wasn't atypical move for Belichick to do it then. I don't think he's going to touch it with a 10-foot pole. I think he'll stay out of that and leave it to the usual suspects. I think Cleveland, You got the Raiders, you got maybe Seattle, though you made, of course, a good point of Pete Carroll maybe not wanting him back after what transcended in Seattle. Oh, yeah. But that would be fitting. And Dallas, obviously, makes a lot of sense, too. Someone will pick him up.
Oh, and, I'm sure.
It's probably not going to go very well. So that's how it goes. But he should probably just retire and get out. Honestly, I've never liked him much as a player. I think he's always been an overrated player. Only time he's ever played well was when he had Hall of Famers on both sides of him and in front of him
the Legion
in Seattle.
Yeah,
Richard Sherman, Cam Chancellor, Bobby Wagner surrounding you. You're probably going to look pretty good. Mm-hmm. And other than that, I don't think he's a Hall of Famer personally, but he'll probably end up there because he had that good run. I don't think any team should put themselves through picking him up at this point in the season. But regardless of that, we have fantasy season. That's high noon at the moment. Season starts in less than 3 weeks at this point. So fantasy drafts are happening left, right, and center. And if you have missed it 2 weeks ago on the Scoreboard, Smokey gave you the top 5 tips for any fantasy player, any especially new and intermediate fantasy players, just rules of thumb, what to stick by to make your seasons more successful. So go check it out if you have not seen that. But what do you have for us today?
Well, first of all, let's start off with some news and what's going on around the league regarding drafting and who you would like to draft. First off, Deebo Samuel was actually saw sprinting on the sidelines, which is good, for that prediction that he may be back in week 1. Do you think he will be?
It's very tough to tell. As far as I'm aware, that injury he has, Jones fracture, typically has a recovery time of around 12 weeks. That'll be about in a week. But the real challenge, whether he'll be ready for week 1, is not going to be health, but it's going to be, is he going to be in football shape and in the right mental place? Because he's missed a significant amount of training camp and installations. So that's really going to be the challenge. He will be healthy to play and to play week 1. Question is just, will he be fully ready to go mentally, and will he be in the right shape that he needs to be? Mm-hmm. But people are hopeful. I've heard good things, and especially with a lot of that receiver room kind of being that day-to-day, week-to-week with nagging injuries. I think this is the third time that the 49ers have signed extra wide receivers to their camp squad because people are getting hurt all over the place. So Jalen Hurts out for the season. Of course, Brandon Ayuk is now week to week with a calf or a hamstring strain. And of course, Deebo is supposed to be back early on. Will he play in week 1? I don't know. Depth is there, but people are getting hurt, so I wouldn't be too surprised if he got out there pretty quickly.
Man, if he's not, keep an eye on Jawan Jennings or who's the who are they? I was reading about an undrafted free agent that was showing out in camp. Do I still have it? I don't have it pulled up anymore. I forgot his name right offhand. Yeah, it was
receiver. I wouldn't know right offhand.
The last thing the last thing I expected was to hear about another 49ers receiver because
it's like a revolving door at the moment. I've heard a lot of good things about generally a lot of good things about Brandon Ayuk, Trent Taylor, Dante Pettis. Those are really the three guys I've heard mostly good things about. And I'm assuming that if healthy, Trent Taylor is going to be firmly in a starting role. That's what it seems like at the moment. And Pettis apparently also turned it around. He said, it's he was famously, of course, not on the active roster for the Super Bowl, and that's gotta hurt. So you definitely want to fight back from that. So he's apparently putting in work again and coming in with the right attitude. So might be a very young squad once again.
Oh, yeah. I had such high hopes for Dante Pettis last season, man. And it just didn't work out.
Was a lost season. Sophomore slump, like you like to mention, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
But he might be back.
Uh-huh. David Montgomery has a growing strain. So they don't really know the severity of it at this moment. But that's definitely something to keep an eye on if you have drafted or if you are planning on drafting David Montgomery. Because
I have.
Yeah. It's not a bad pick. I know people have him way down the charts because of last season. But I predict that he could... I mean, he's high up there in the chances of having a breakout this season. So, and we went over that in the breakout episode. Sony Michel is back in practice, and they are working out right now, trying to figure out if it's going to be Damian Harris or Sony Michel who will be the starter come game one.
I feel like Sony Michel should have it, like just skill set wise, but there might be a point to make that Damian Harris actually fits this new offense, which we haven't seen a lot. A little bit better. I think they're going to share carries for a bit, which is kind of why I suspect they're both like in the top, maybe just out of the top 25 running backs currently going. Mm-hmm. So people are careful on it, and I understand there's a lot of change happening in New England. Mm-hmm. But I think if you get the right guy there, you have a pretty good value pick. That's at least my take on it.
Oh yeah. Hey, keep an eye on Jalen Reagor, the rookie receiver for Philadelphia, because right now he's showing out in camp, and the word out of the Eagles camp right now is that he is going to be a major part of the offense. And
I would not be surprised if he was a wide receiver 1 or 2 come start of the season, because if you remember last year, they were throwing to the hot dog guys.
Yeah, exactly. And that right there is actually going to lead into one of my bold takes later in the show here. But the last two... Wow. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I thought I had for a second, I actually had an inclination that we might have a very similar bold pick later on. Talking about Jalen Reagor. Well, we'll see what we've cooked up there.
Yeah, maybe so. The last few things I want to touch on is AJ Green will be back in practice Wednesday, so apparently it's not that was today actually. That was from today. Why did they listed it out like he was going to be back in practice Wednesday when this news came out on Wednesday? But anyway, so it's not as bad as everyone thought. Here's something for the 49ers though. Nick Bosa is week to week right now with an injury. I'm sure you already know about it, though, right?
Yeah, I've heard about it. He's had some hamstring tightness, I believe, yeah. And they actually, or something like that. They had him do a precautionary MRI, which turns out to show a strain. So luckily they caught it. He was set to actually fully participate in practice, but they're keeping him out presumably for the rest of the week, just as a precaution. His week 1 should not be in any sort of danger, but. I get how that's a big headline.
Mm-hmm. And the last thing is, with Darius Geis gone, guess who's back atop the depth chart? It happens to be Adrian Peterson once again. Adrian Peterson is never going to die. He will be here forever, and we will be drafting him in 2029 and 2030. Because he
kind of along with Frank Gore, right?
Exactly.
For the flex spot. I've seen a lot of people be pretty high on Antonio Gibson too. If you'll get to that maybe later.
Yeah, and I was gonna say that. Yeah, Antonio Gibson and Bryce Love have actually shown out, and Peyton Barber's also there. If you remember that guy from fantasy relevance a few years ago over in
3
Tampa.
years ago, yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's right now it's a 3-way race, but Peterson is atop the list at the moment, so we'll have to see how that goes. Now, the main part of the fantasy segment, I want to talk about the late round quarterback strategy. Now, Alex, where's your favorite spot to draft a quarterback? Do you have a certain round that you aim for, or do you just go with the flow?
I like to have at least 2 backs and 2 receivers usually, unless I have someone who I really like fall to me like in the first 5 or 6 rounds. Like I can give this example from a draft I had last weekend. And I was drafting at 6 in a 14-team league, and I was prepared to take Mahomes if he came back in the second round. He ended up going in the first round, so I didn't get a chance at it. And I was gonna pick Aaron Rodgers, I believe, in round 7, and the person right in front of me snagged him, so I settled for a tight end. And I ended up getting Matt Ryan in round 11 because he was the most valuable one left on the board. It really, like, my strategy with quarterbacks is I really adjust to what happens. If people run at quarterbacks, I tend to stay away from them, pick up skill position depth, and I've had years where I just streamed quarterbacks and didn't even draft one at all. So it kind of depends on, like, quarterbacks, I'm pretty ruthless on that. I'll pick value if it's there, but I'm going to ignore it if it's not. I don't try to force it.
Yeah, that's pretty smart, man. It's really smart to go with the flow. If there is a guy that just drops and drops and drops, you can get one of these tier 1 quarterbacks. But I just wanted to point out, like, a simple equation here that makes sense. When people are drafting Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson right now, the fantasy public has actually gotten better, because if you were to go back 5 years ago, these guys would have went in round 1, but I think people are adapting to the late round strategy, and they're starting to fall toward the end of round 2 these days. But, back in the day, if you wanted an Aaron Rodgers or a Russell Wilson or an Andrew Luck, you were going to take those guys before the middle of the second round. But, so, the guys that are going around Patrick Mahomes right now, I just wanted to point this out. If you were to draft Patrick Mahomes, you can count on him for about 30 to 32, 33, on average PPR points a game. Guess who's going right around Patrick Mahomes? DeAndre Hopkins, Kenyon Drake, Kenny Galladay. Now, these guys are only going to give you like 25 to 28 on average. And you would look at that and say, well, that's why I want Patrick Mahomes, because I need that advantage right there. Why would I draft a guy who's going to give me 25 when I can get upwards of 35? Well, here's the reason. Because when we scroll down to the late round quarterbacks, Phillip Rivers right now is ranked 161. Now, if Phillip Rivers returns to who Phillip Rivers is, he's going to give you a good 25 points a game. Now, you still think about that and you go, yeah, I would rather have the 35 from Mahomes than the 25 from Phillip Rivers. But guess who's going around Phillip Rivers? Because when you already took Mahomes, you don't have a skill position player there. So now you're down here at pick 161 looking for skill position players other than a quarterback, of course. And you're looking at Sammy Watkins. Sammy Watkins might give you 1 week of production. You're looking at Baltimore's defense. Baltimore's defense, that's one of the best defenses in the league, but your floor is 8 to 10 points, and your ceiling is going to be 15 to 18 points, when you could be drafting Phillip Rivers and get the 25 points there. Damian Harris, we don't even know if he's going to be the starting running back. We have not seen Damian Harris play. But you have that choice if you took Patrick Mahomes. Allen Lazard. Now, Allen Lazard was okay last year, but we have no idea because each year that second receiver for Aaron Rodgers has altered over the past 3 to 4 years. So we don't even know if Allen Lazard is going to be useful at all. But 163, you could have Drew Lock right here. And if Drew Lock breaks out like he's supposed to, he could be giving you upwards of 30 points a game. Or you could take Justin Jackson and see how that works out. And that's the reason why it just makes sense to wait on quarterback.
Absolutely agree. I've been doing that somewhat successfully for a long time. And even if I go into drafts with a different strategy, like in this last one, I actually went in with the strategy of not taking running backs early. Because I had a lot of late round running backs that I was looking at like guys like Philip Lindsay and Jerick McKinnon that I think are vastly underdrafted, and I was gonna get them in like around 8, 9, like 10 ranks above their average ADP, which it was gonna be good value. I was actually gonna go and I was gonna take receiver. I was gonna take hopefully Patrick Mahomes and tight end in the first 3 rounds was my strategy initially. If I got Kittle or Kelsey either in the second or third. But turns out I started picking double running backs because somehow Saquon Barkley fell to 6, and then I believe Joe Mixon fell to 24. So I had to take the value there. He fell to 6 because people were going for quarterbacks, and also Alvin Kamara went above him because people thought apparently the receiving value. But I had to take him at 6 there, and that's how it happens sometimes. I was sitting there around 5 and I had 2 running backs, 2 receivers, because it's tough to pass that up, and it's probably the right decision to take those kinds of values.
Man, I have drafted 2 season-long teams, and I haven't counted, but almost 20 best ball teams so far. I have not seen Barkley fall past number 3 in any of those drafts, and I doubt that I will. That's amazing that he fell that low.
He was a bit of a bust last year, so people took him at 1 and 2, a bit more cautious. But it's a difference. He's young. He doesn't necessarily have a history of injuries, so I thought it had to be the pick.
For sure. But yeah, that wraps up the fantasy segment for this week.
All right, there we go. Some pro tips if your draft is coming up. That's what you can. That's where you can take some lessons from. We have an annual segment here on the scoreboard, which we did last year, and we're going to do it again. And this is going into the season because it's season is less than 3 weeks away at this point. We have bold predictions. As the name would suggest, predictions that might be a little bit far-fetched, but there is a distinct possibility from the happen. We both have 4 of them written down. We're going to present them, discuss them, and if the discussion arises in a way that we are of differing opinions, we might put a few bets on them. And we definitely need to, because so far our betting hasn't necessarily been very decisive. You remember from last season, we completely equaled out all of our bets. And we made a lot of them, but somehow it turns out to perfect 0. So we might be getting some more together here. Do you want to start with your first bold prediction?
I can start with it. I started off lightly, man. We're going to have a soft entry into this for this season. But my first one is that the Vikings will finish with a losing record this season, and Adam Thielen is not the number 1 wide receiver for the Vikings by the end of the season.
So that's a compound bet. So are they separate? Can I take separate bets on them, or do you only ship them in a package?
No, you could. The only reason I threw the extra one is because I thought that, just saying the Vikings are going to finish with a losing record was not quite bold enough. So I thought I would compound it by, adding in the Adam Thielen prediction also.
You know what? You might already have our first bet.
All right.
So say we put the Vikings record at 8-8. You'll take the under. I'll take the over.
Yeah.
And we could even make that a 1-1. I think that's fair odds. How about 3 cans on that?
Okay, I'll take that.
All right, I'm going to write that down later, actually, so we don't forget it. We have our first bet already. It's looking good. It looks like a productive episode. If they're exactly 8-8, then it's nothing happens.
It's a push. Yes. Okay.
I'll take it because I don't really believe in Green Bay. I've been talking about it all season. Green Bay is actively regressing, and I think. But the one thing you can't afford to do as Green Bay is make Aaron Rodgers not want to play and make him not fully passionate about playing anymore. I don't think he is, and he has every reason not to be and be looking for the door next year. So he's not going to will Green Bay to another championship game like he did last season by miracle. Chicago is Chicago. I don't know what to believe. And the Lions, kind of similar thing goes to them. Those are both teams that are in the 8-8 range. Mm-hmm. And as with the Packers regressing, I think the Vikings actually are at the moment in the best position to win the division, provided that the Packers actually fall off and Aaron Rodgers doesn't pull out more miracles. But I like the Vikings. I think they have a good shot. And who do you think is going to be receiver number one, though, if not Thielen?
I think it could be the rookie. Why am I losing his name right now?
Was he a first-round pick?
Yeah. No. Well, he wasn't first round. He was second round, right? Jesus Christ. Why am I forgetting?
I'm forgetting it too. But Stephon Diggs is gone, and typically Cousins has had good chemistry with Adam Thielen.
Yeah. My bad. I'm looking it up. Why? Jesus, why is his name slipping my mind?
I'm not going to put a bet on the Adam Thielen thing because I've learned not to do that. It's a bit too volatile with just receiver numbers. Last time we had Chris Godwin over Mike Evans, and you had that nailed down from the start of the season. I bet against it. I'm not going to do it again. But the Vikings one we definitely have. So
Justin Jefferson. Jesus Christ.
Oh, right. Obviously, that was first round pick too. Yeah.
Yeah. I think he's going to end up being the WR1.
I'm not going to bet against him. I liked him a lot.
I kept wanting to say T. Higgins. I'm like, no, that's Clemson. The LSU guy. Yeah.
I'm not going to bet against that. I think he's going to be a good target. But just another argument for me to believe the Vikings are going to have a successful season. And they're going to have a winning record. We'll get into that as we go. I'm gonna present. Let me pick also my I guess my softest one. I don't really have one because all of these are pretty interesting or pretty spicy. But I'm going to go with one I've hinted on a couple times before. It's a pretty bold one, historically speaking. But I believe that we're going to see a repeat in the Super Bowl. I believe Super Bowl 55 will be the 49ers and the Chiefs once again. Because I've said before that Patrick Mahomes at his best is unstoppable. And I've said that every team in the NFC has gotten weaker in comparison to San Francisco, who has already been the best team in the NFC. So I think the stars will align and we'll see both teams back, clashing once again. I have no idea who's going to win, but I'm going to say they're both going back.
When is the last time we saw a repeat? Was it
Did Bills, we ever see a repeat?
Bills, Cowboys, maybe?
It might have been some... Yeah, that seems likely because the Bills went to 4 consecutive. It might have been some... If the Cowboys went to 2 consecutive in that period... That might have been true, but it's a very rare occurrence. Might have been early on, maybe the Packers at some point, but very rare occurrence. But I'm going to say it happens. Of course, the statistics aren't with me, so I'm not going to put anything on this as a bet. That's why. It's a bold prediction.
Definitely going to take that one.
You'd have to give me 10-1 odds, honestly.
Man, that's almost worth it. 10-1 odds.
For 10-1, you know what? I'll do it. Okay, 10 cans to 1. I'm gonna do it.
All right.
That's fine. I'm expecting to lose it. Statistics would say I lose it, but I think in 1 of 10 cases this happens again. And as far as I understand football, these are the best teams, and it should happen again. I believe that Kansas City is a bit more volatile because they live and die by Mahomes. Even though that if Mahomes plays, I'm more sure about Kansas City. If it was guaranteed, but as it is, it's really tough to pick. I think San Francisco is the more consistent one, and in most cases they should make it back. But if Mahomes stays healthy, I'm very sure that Kansas City will make it back. So I'm gonna take it 10-1. You have to remind me later to write all of these down so I don't forget them.
Oh yeah.
What's your next one?
My next one is Carson Wentz returns to MVP form and cements himself as an elite quarterback once again. Now he hasn't done bold? This. He said it's not that bold?
I don't think it's that bold. I think we know that Carson Wentz is a top 5 quarterback if he's healthy.
Yeah, I think for you it's not that bold. For me it's not that bold. But for some people, some analysts, that's a very bold.
For the Dak Prescott people.
Yeah, and I couldn't necessarily say that Carson Wentz is going to be the MVP because I've already put a few people up there as possible MVPs. So
you like Josh Allen, we know that.
Yeah, Josh Allen. And if he has the season I'm thinking he's going to have, he will definitely win the MVP. But you know, I think he will be in the running for the MVP by the end of the season.
Yeah, it would definitely necessitate him to stay healthy and for him to be throwing to actual receivers, which we've talked about and we'll apparently also get into more. They drafted well. I think the Eagles are going to have a good shot. I believe they're going to win the division, even though the Cowboys are also stacked. But Carson Wentz is a top 5 quarterback, no doubt. If healthy, if the team around him stays healthy, I think there's no doubt he will emerge as that quarterback that he's supposed to be. And we've seen for one season, his MVP season, where he ended up getting hurt, that that was not a coincidence. He's that kind of player. And I would expect him to have many years like that. So I'm not going to take any bets on that one because I totally agree with what you said.
And if you're worried about the receivers, you know, because last year they completely ran out of receivers. But right now he's got it lined up as Jalen Reagor, Deshaun Watson. Whenever Alshon Jeffries comes back, Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert are both still really good tight end receiving options. And Miles Sanders should have a definite breakout this season.
All of a sudden sounds like a really good group of skill positions.
Yeah. So I think the cards are in his favor.
Definitely going to go with that. Here's my second one, and this might be related to one that we wanted to hint on. You mentioned Jalen Reagor. I'm going to say that at least 2 rookies are going to lead their team in receiving this season. That's what I'm saying.
Man, I could definitely see that. I've already called for it with Jalen Reagor and Justin Jefferson.
Justin Jefferson could do it. Jalen Reagor could do it. I think CeeDee Lamb has a shot to do it.
Henry
Jerry Jeudy could definitely do it. You could see, depending on what happens with that revolving door, Brandon Ayuk has a shot. Or Henry Ruggs, you mentioned. A lot of candidates. Remember last year I picked, I believe, 2 or 3 rookies finishing with double-digit sacks because we had this pass rushing class of like the best pass rushing class since 2012. And I think this is going to happen. I think 2 rookies at least. It might be more. But with the amount of receivers that came out, it could happen to the Jets, a lot of different places with receivers that went to not necessarily a stacked receiving squad. So I like my odds for this one. And if you want, I'd put a bet on that, but I'm pretty sure you won't because you kind of already agree with it.
Man, I do. It's always tempting to do a 1-to-1 bet, but if you want to do a 1-to-1, I'll take that.
Let me think about that. I mean, statistically, I can't take a 1-to-1. I think I'd have to make a 1 and 2 because it is unlikely. I think in reality, it's probably more 1 and 2.
I think this is the most likely year that we've ever, at least in the past 5-6 years.
So. I think so too. But 1-to-1, I think, is not a smart bet. I don't think I'll do that.
All right.
I do believe it'll happen.
Do you want another one?
Yes, let's go.
All right, it's going to get a little more bold here. This one says that Jameis Winston will save the Saints' season at some point this year.
All it takes for that to happen is for Breeze to get hurt again, right? Like if he does it, if he comes in for 4 games and he like Teddy did and he wins them, that would totally count, obviously. And we've seen it last year. Drew Brees we know he's old. And if he gets hurt, then Jameis is the next man up, and he's a capable quarterback. We know that.
But what are the chances? I mean, Drew Brees doesn't get injured every season, so.
I'd say 25 to 30%. But to me personally, also too likely to happen in some capacity that I would want a 1-to-1 bet for.
You want a 1-to-1?
No, I don't want to bet on it because I think there's a chance it could happen. And I think statistically I should take the bet, but I won't because there's so many things that can happen, especially this year. Just let someone test positive, like too close before game day, and someone has to step in, or just a simple injury close to the playoffs, and they're going to sit him in week 16, week 17, whatever. I'm not going to take it because there is a pretty good shot that Jameis might play, so. Yeah. They might just switch him in like everyone. They might run crazy 2-3 quarterback sets again, and he might make good plays. I'm not taking it. Okay. Staying away from that one. Too dicey. How about this one? This is also very bold. Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say we only got two bets out of it so far.
We have 2 so far, which isn't bad. We'll have to remember those later, but it's not bad.
I got one coming up for you though.
Okay. How do you like this one? There will be a coach fired during the first half of the season. Weeks 1 through 8, or week 1 through 9, let's say.
God, I hope it's Adam Gase.
I'm looking at Adam Gase, thinking Bill O'Brien, maybe.
Yeah.
Matt Nagy, maybe. Matt Patricia's in the hot seat. I think there's a lot of names that could fall.
I'll tell you this, if Dan Quinn goes on another losing streak in the first half, it's got to be him this year. Like they can't. I think
if the Falcons start out like 2-6, you can't keep him.
Yeah, exactly. That happens again, it definitely he cannot stay this time, man. But I'd say Adam Gase is on the hottest seat overall right now, right? Like
you'd hope so, yeah.
Who's in a worse position than him?
Tough to gauge. I'm not sure about how they're looking at Bill O'Brien there, and he might be saved a bit by Deshaun Watson. You know, they're going to be sitting there at 5-4, and it's like, we're doing okay. We might make the playoffs. Let's not change. And it's the Cowboys syndrome, like the Jason Garrett situation.
Yeah, for sure. Man, I don't know. Yeah, should I take that? I mean, there's usually...
I'd take it as a 1-1 for like 2 games.
It would have to be because, because
it seems very likely though.
It seems like there's one every season, or maybe it's really not in the first half. Maybe it's more toward the second half. But after bye week,
there's a lot of ones,
a lot of guys,
a lot of ones this year that are entering the season on the hot seat already.
Yeah, I guess I'll take that just to make it interesting.
All right. Gonna write that down later for 2 cans.
Even though I'm kind of hoping to lose because I want to see Adam Gase lose his job.
I want to see Adam Gase go.
I want to see Adam Gase and Matt Nagy just get out of town and let these guys
for the Jets
play.
To finally be good.
Yeah,
I could definitely see that. But okay, we'll write it down later.
All right.
Do you got another one?
I got one that you definitely should take, and this is my boldest take of all for this season. Whew, this is tough, man, and I really believe there's a good chance of this happening, but I guarantee you 99% of analysts out there would tell me I'm crazy for saying this. Joe Mixon finishes this season with more total yards than Christian McCaffrey.
I will take that.
I bet you will.
Sure. Christian McCaffrey's on the field every single snap. 3 downs, and he probably plays punt coverage. He's the top receiver and the top running back on that team. Yeah. And they're gonna want to let Joe Burrow throw a little bit, especially if AJ Green's back. You have Tyler Boyd. I'm gonna take you up on that bet. What do you want to put on that? I think this calls for a pizza bet. We haven't had a pizza bet in a while. You want to put pizza on this?
Well, I don't want to go 1-1 now because this is.
Oh, okay.
I mean, this is tough. I mean, but I just think there's.
How about 2-3?
The reason I made this bet because I think there is at least a 20% chance that this happens. You know. So with that being said, I'll put a pizza to a monster.
Pizza to a monster. That's not. No, that's not fair. Like a pizza is like $8. A monster is $1.50. I'm not taking that. We can put here. any amount of monsters you name at a rate of 3-2.
3-2.
Yeah. So 2-2, 6-4.
Man.
I'll do.
Let's. What about 2-1? All right.
Okay, you got it. 2-1. We'll do it. I don't think it's a good pick. in 3 seasons, does McCaffrey at least do it twice, hopefully? I'm going to take it. Just I'm thinking I'm going to hit the timeline where he does do it. So, yeah, I have it at 2-1. But it's not super bold because it could happen, right? It takes one injury. It takes just, the Bengals to go crazy.
You haven't listened to a lot of fantasy analysts lately then.
Yeah, I mean, I really expect it not to happen. But
yeah, I think everybody expects it not to happen.
Right. So one monster at 2-1, or 2 monsters at 2-1.
Yeah. And this is all-purpose yards, It's not just in the air. It's not just on the ground. But, yeah.
That's fair. We're not counting return yards, right? In case someone returns, it's yards from scrimmage.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, that's fair. How about this one? This is the last take, and this is one that I'm definitely not going to bet on, and I wrote this down as a bonus just for fun, because I would want it to happen, not because I think it will. I'm going to say throughout the season, we're going to see a quarterback unretire. Some quarterback who is retired will unretire to join a team. And I'm thinking all of those are far-fetched, but think Eli Manning, Colin Kaepernick, Andrew Luck. God, I'm not even going to say Brett Favre, but some quarterback will unretire.
That would be awesome.
That would be great, yeah.
If Brett Favre came back at like 50. He's like, take that, Tom Brady.
Wouldn't put it past him. But a quarterback will unretire. There you go. What do you think about this?
Oh, man, I'll take you up on that. But if it does happen, I think... who would it be? Andrew Luck, probably.
Yeah, though he has the least reason to do it, right? Like he's done. He was injured. He's fed up, and he made more than enough money with the Colts.
Yeah, but we said that about Gronk.
That's true. Mm-hmm. But Gronk seems like a very impulsive guy. I'm not trying to throw shade at Gronk, but I think Andrew Luck is a very smart individual, and he's not the type of player to return. I think there's a certain blend of player that has a little bit more meaning to their long-term decisions than others, right? Like, you don't know of what Antonio Brown... Like, Antonio Brown will officially retire from the league and on the same day write applications to, like, all 32 teams.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think Andrew Luck has any reason to. I think he's a smart guy, and I think he thinks through the decisions that he makes, so it's probably not going to happen. I doubt it for Eli, too, but there might be some name that hasn't been in the league that's going to come back just because of a quarterback shortage, which can always happen, especially this year. So it's my bold prediction. I'm not going to bet anything on it, but if it happens, I will definitely brag about it at the end of the year.
Yeah, I would definitely take you up on that one.
I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
But that is that one. Might be the boldest one, but I'm going to write down all the ones we agreed on once we get off the air, and we're going to obviously review them, and maybe more bets. I'm sure more bets will come up throughout the season as we bet on individual games as we have before, daily performances. And we'll have a pretty good list accumulated. We'll review them after the season in a recap show. But that's our 8 bold predictions for this week. Smokey, do you have anything to add?
No, I think that's it for this week.
All right, that's it for this week. Thank you for watching this video, this podcast. Let us know your bold predictions in the comments. And tell us what you think about these ones. Would you take the bets? Which ones are likely? Which ones aren't? And what's your own personal bold prediction? Yeah, drop a like on the video. Be back next week. I'm assuming we have some more fantasy advice next week.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Going into the season, so it's hot fantasy season. Don't want to miss out on those takes. We're going to see you in the next one, and until then, Smokey.
Deuces.